All right, welcome back everybody to our workshop on creating a Flappy Bird clone. This is where we left off last time. We created our obstacle course, our player, our backdrop for our environment. Visually, well, let me just play the game really quickly so that we can show what exactly we left off on. I created a little bit different visual, but that's fine. And okay. So that demonstrated how you can lose the game, and it just basically resets. And then if I can, there, we win the game. Right. So the next part I want to work on here, just really quickly, I want to have a way to spawn the player at a different location. Being able to do that will give us more flexibility in the obstacle course we can create, because the way it is right now, and our player will always spawn at a particular location. If we make our obstacle course in a way that a pillar is right in front of that location, then our player will continuously hit it and it'll keep restarting. So yeah, we want a way to create a different location for our spawn, our player spawn. Exit out of this, and yeah, let's get into it. First thing we have to do is create a spawn block. It doesn't matter what the block looks like. It's just a placeholder for where we want our player to spawn at. So we're gonna go into our tile map and create a new block, and that block will be our spawn block. So I think I already did this, but I'll just do it again. So create a new block, we'll call it spawn 2, and then let's just make it really clear and make the entire block black so we know that's our spawn block. And then click done. Okay, and then so wherever we place, like I said, I already did this, so I have that spawn block at the very end there. So yeah, I wanted to make it really clear that we're gonna spawn wherever this block will be, so I put the spawn block at the finish line. Right, so you can put it there, but you can put it wherever you'd like. Ideally, it's at the beginning of our course, and then like we're basically changing the vertical, like how high or low it will be spawned. Our player will be spawned. Okay, so we have our spawn block, and then now we're gonna have it so our player will spawn at that block. So we're gonna do this at place bird on top of random block. This logic, it will allow us to do that. So we're gonna go in the scene and grab that block. Right here we have it, and then I'll just throw it at the end of the start function. And then now, let me see if, okay, well, I don't have it included there, but we have to remember to set our variable to our player, because that's the one we want to spawn, and on top of the block we want it to spawn is our spawn block. So now that we have that, let's continue on. So in this part, we want to so we have our block and our player will spawn there, but we don't exactly want this black block just like in our scene. So once our player spawns there, we want to then loop through all the spawn blocks and delete them so that they're no longer in our scene. So we're gonna go to the loops and find for this loop block for value and lists. I'm gonna put that at the end of the start block, and then next we need this array of all tile locations. So we're gonna loop through all the blocks that are of this tile. So go into scene. Find it right here. It's near the bottom. So I'm gonna put that aside right now because yeah. So we want to drag that into our list field, or where list is, because we're gonna loop through all of those. But we'll get like there's a particular error that will occur if we just drag it in. What we need to do first before dragging it into that field is we need to delete that list part there. So we're just gonna grab list and then pull it. This is how we can quickly delete something and drag it out there. Now we can grab our array of all tiles and put it into our loop. Right. And so in step 9 here, we're going to choose our tiles that we want to loop through, and that will be our spawn tile. Okay, so now we're looping through all the spawn tiles and grabbing their locations and assigning them to the value variable here. And yep, okay. So now that we have the location of our spawn tile, we want to set it to an empty tile. We want to basically delete it. So we're gonna go to yeah, I think I got a little ahead of myself moving forward there. We want to go to the scene menu and grab the set tile at this location. So we go to scene, oops. So right here we have the block. We're gonna put it into our for loop, and so what we want to do now is we're gonna leave this to an empty tile, the set tile, because we're trying to set it to an empty tile, like deleting it. But what we want is to drag this value, which is the location of the our spawn tile, and put it here, into here. We just dragged it into our set thing. Right, and we can see that in this visual, we just grab the value and put it into the tile column part. Okay, so that was pretty quick, so let's test it out. So, okay, awesome. We can see our bird player spawned right where our spawn tile was, and also we can notice that the spawn tile is no longer there. Nice. I'm gonna change the location of that spawn tile just because we don't really want it right at the finish line there. We want it probably more where we had it originally, but I don't know. I'll probably put it like right there and then remove this one. But now we're moving into level 2. So level 2, so we have an obstacle course and we win the game. But now we want to look into, once we reach that finish line, to boot up the next level, which would be maybe something more difficult. So yeah, get into this. So the first thing we have to do to get this to work is create a separate function. I think I mentioned functions in another portion earlier in our introduction to Python code in our fundamentals. But basically, it's a separate logic block that we can call anywhere within our code. So we're going to go into, we have to click on Advanced, the drop down there, and we'll find Functions. When we click on Functions, we can create a function, and then we're going to name it something. Let's call it, we have it here, start level. So the name of the function is because when you call the function later on in your code, you're gonna call it through this name, right? So we have our start level function right here, which is a separate logic block. So now we want to abstract a lot of the code that we have in our start function and pull it into our start level function. So specifically, we want all the code that is not related to the player entity. So it depends on how exactly you want to set up your game, but in this scenario, we're thinking no matter what level it is, our player will be everything will be the same with our player. The only thing we're changing is maybe like the obstacle course and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna grab all this content that's not related to our player. I think we can do, let me see here. Yeah, we can do control plus drag. I have it in the next part, but we can do control plus drag to grab our blocks. So control, well, that'll allow us to drag individual blocks. But okay, so we have our player here. We have pretty much everything below this block is related to things that are not related to our player. So just gonna drag that there. We have all our player logic in here and our start function logic over here. So now we want to call our function in our start block. So in code, it'll run from top to bottom. So it will run from here, it'll run down here, and we want to call the start function and then have it run down here. So for the moment, we want it to behave exactly like it was before, just like it was as a big block. But we're going to change it a little so that we can add in a level 2. So to have it run exactly as we have had it before, having the second function, we're going to go into functions, and then this is how we can call our function. We call start level, and we drag that into our start block. So now as the code executes, it'll start at the top here, it'll run down to the call start level, and then it'll start at the top of our start level function and then run down that. So it should be working exactly the way it was before. So now we're going to get into actually creating our level 2. We're going to use an if-else block, which is a conditional logic where we can, so we have, if this happens, we're going to do this. Otherwise, we're going to do something else. So with this logic, we're going to say, if we're going to have a variable that will tell us whether we've completed the first level. If we have not completed the first level, we're going to run the first part, the if block. If we did complete the first level, then we're going to run the else block. So yeah, let's grab that logic from the menu, logic, and then if else. We're going to put that into our start level function. And then, yeah, like I said, we're going to, if the condition is true, we're going to run our first level. So our first level here, we want to drag the set background image and the tile map, because those are the two things, just for simplicity. You can change a lot of different things about your level, but just for simplicity, we're going to change the obstacle course and maybe what the backdrop looks like. So like I said earlier, you can do the control, you can hit the control button, and then you can drag individual blocks as you like. So I have those in the first block. Okay, like I said, we need a way to figure out like how we're gonna determine that we finished the first level. We have our logic that says, okay, if we finish our first level, we're gonna run the second level, but we need a way to determine if we've completed the first level. We're going to do that by using a variable, and we're going to set the variable to a particular value when we finish the first level. So we're going to go into variables and create a current level variable. So here we have to go up to make variable, and then we're going to go to current level. What I named it? Yeah. Okay. So we have our current level variable. And now we have to, so back in our logic where we have, when we overlapped the finish line tile, we basically had a block that said win the game. Now, when we overlap the finish line tile, we want to increment our current level variable. So current level is initialized to 0 when you create it. It will be the value 0, and so basically 0 meaning we have not finished the first level. So when we change it to the value 1, we're indicating we have finished the first level. So yeah, we're going to go in and grab the change index by block to increment our variable to 1. Variables, was it the change? Yeah, we want the change block here. And we want to do it when we overlap our finish line tiles. So down here, if you remember, we have game over, we win before. So we don't want that logic. Let me see if we get rid of that. Yeah, so then we have that there. So we're incrementing that, and the next step is to delete that game over logic, because we don't want to finish there. We want to move on to level 2. So we could delete it. We might. I'll just put it off to the side for right now. And so now we finished the game. So if you remember, like I said, we run through code from top to bottom. So the way this runs, we start at the top at the start block and start function, and we run down and we call our start level function and run down that. So when we that will be the end, right? We've reached the end of our code here. There is no more logic. So what we want to do when we reach the tile, for the finish line tile, is start over, start the start level function over again, run it again from the top. Everything with our player logic will stay the same. This is all still initialized and in our game, so we don't need to touch that. We just want to start our level, our start level function again. We want to run this logic again. Right. So that is why we call our start level function after updating the current level variable to 1. So let me see here. I have, and also don't forget that right here, this might not be set automatically. You want to set that current level. That needs to be current level. So just like we did before to call our functions, we're going to go into function and call start level. We're going to do that after we update our variable. Okay, and once we have that, right, so I said earlier we want to initial, current level would be initialized to 0. We actually have to manually do that. So we're gonna have to go in and grab the, go into variables and then set current level to 0. This is where we initialize our value. So if it's 0, we're on our first level. If it's 1, we're on our second level. So right off the bat, we're gonna initialize our level to be 0 so that we're playing the first level. We run down through the start function logic, and then which will initialize our player. We'll call our start level function to run through the first level, and then when we hit the finish line, we will update our current level variable to 1 to signal that we're on the second level, and then we'll call start level again to run the second level. So this is the part where you're like, okay, you call the function again, it's just going to do the same thing. But no, that is why we have our if-else block here. So this is where we're gonna, if the value is 0, we run level 1. If the value is 1, we'll run the else block, which will be level 2. So let's get into that. Right here we have our logic. This is how we work with logic blocks. Are super important. They're very fundamental to coding and how you branch logic. So we're gonna grab this equality block here and the logic part, the logic drop down. So here I have the equality part, and then we're going to drag it to the if condition. So yeah, I grab it here. Right now it's if true, which means it'll run the first block every time. So now we want to set it on a condition that we set. So now we have that there. and then we're gonna say if we're gonna drag our current level variable. So let's go into variables and grab our current level variable. We have current level here, and then we're gonna drag it to the first, we have 0 equals 0. So we want to have if current level, so we're gonna drag it. You see it's kind of grabbing onto like the whole thing or these individual things. We want to drag to these individual circle parts, not the bigger outer part. It's kind of important, the individual in the first one there. So now we're saying if current level is equal to 0, we're going to run the whole backdrop and obstacle course for our first level. Okay. So I think this is, yeah, so we had our equality part there, and this is basically what we just did. We dragged it into the first equal part there, our current level variable. So this is our logic here. We have the first if block will be level 1, second else is level 2. Once we have this logic all set up, we are basically free to create our second level. So let's go set tile map. So set tile map. So we want to create another tile map here and another backdrop. Scene, we have background image, right? So yeah, let's just create a new obstacle course. I think we want this to be can't remember what it was. At the beginning we set it to be 50 by 16. So that's like longer than it is tall. $50 by 16. So I just want to show really quickly, like at the end, you can make your obstacle course however you like, but you want the core components that like you want to have the floor so you can't go through it. So you would like we went over in previous parts, we used the drawn walls block here where we'd have make our floor. We have a finish line. You want to put the finish line blocks, and you want to put your spawn tile in there. So wherever you want your player to spawn. And then as for the visuals, you can do that however you please. Right. Okay. So we have our logic now, and we should, when we hit the finish line, we should hit our second else block and run level 2. Let's give it a try. If I can beat the first level, that is. First try. All right, and now we can see we're on level 2. Oops. Okay. So Right, if I lose the game, it will reset and the whole thing will go back to level 1. But for now, that's you can always go in and change that and make adjustments as you like to make your game better. But we can see when we finish level 2 here that we're kind of stuck because we deleted our logic for logic for winning the game. So we want to hit this finish line on level 2 and be pretty much we want to win the game then, because we only have 2 levels. So okay, now we want to get into restoring our ability to win the game. We temporarily removed it so that we could add the logic for having a level 2, but that pretty much broke our ability to win the game when we hit the finish line at level 2. So we're going to restore that logic here. So we're going to do something really similar that we did for adding a second level. We're going to use an if statement, conditional logic, to check which level we're on. So if we're on level 1 and we hit the finish line, we want to start up level 2. But if we hit the finish line at level 2 and we hit the finish line, we want to we want to do an end game. Right, so let's get right into it. We have an if else block. We're going to need that. So we're going to go to our logic blocks and grab an if else. We want to drag that into our collision with our with the block that detects collision with our finish line. We're going to drag that into there, and then pressing Control, and then we're dragging and dropping. We're going to drag the logic for updating our current level and those for calling our function. We're going to drag both of those into the else block. So don't mix up the order of these. We want to update the variable and then call the function. Okay, next we're going to do the same thing we did before and grab our equality. This allows us to, this is our conditional to be able to check for equality. Something a little we're going to do something a little different this time with the equality, but right, but we're going to drag that in first, and then we're going to change it to a greater than sign. I'll talk about why that is, and it took me a while to figure out exactly. There was a bug that was occurring that yeah, it took me a while to figure out why we need exactly to do greater than. So but I'll tell you in a moment. So we're going to switch it to greater than, and then we want to drag our current level variable onto the left side of our equality, or into our conditional check here. And then on the right side, we want to set it to 1. So if the current level is greater than 1, then we're going to run the first if block. Otherwise, we're going to start up level 2. So the else block will handle cases whenever we restart the game, or whenever we restart, like we hit a pillar and then we lose and it resets. That, or if well, basically, yeah, I think it was basically that case. Or we hit the finish line and we're at level 1. Okay, so it's those two cases for the else block. The if block, the first block, is when we're on level 2, we hit the finish line, and we want to end. We want to win the game. So we're going to go into the game drop down, grab the game block, grab game over. In this case, is actually toggled the win. So, and then we win. Right. So testing it. Okay, so I wanted to make a note of why exactly we do greater than, because if you think the logic through, you would think, okay, well, why not just make it so? Well, you're thinking if the current level is greater than 0, meaning we're not level 1, yeah, we're on level 2, then we would do game over. So why are we doing greater than greater than 1? And that is like kind of confusing. So what happens when you play the game and you hit the finish line? Sometimes your player will hit two finish line blocks at the same time, and that will cause this to run twice. Or at least I believe that is the error that's occurring. That'll cause the overlap block to occur twice. It'll run through the code twice, making the current level update to to greater than 1. So I believe that is the error that's causing this. But as it is with this logic, we should be able to play through level 1, get to level 2, and then finish at level 2. Right. So we have here, we're gonna test it out. I absolutely am terrible at playing this game, so we'll see if I can beat it. Okay. There we have it. Yeah, we played through level 1, 1 on level 2, and that's pretty much the behavior we're looking for. So there's Makecodearcade itself can be a little bit buggy. Sometimes it helps to reload the editor itself, but if you're getting confused with how all this code should line up, this is the reference. This is the end code of all the different blocks that we've been working on. So if you just refer back to this and put it back together, you should have it working. Right, other than that, that's pretty much the end. You know, I salute you for putting in the effort, and I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong here, and if you didn't get it to work, definitely, like, I mean, coding can be frustrating, and a lot of it is what we call debugging, or just like trying to get it to work. And you know, if you weren't able to get it to work, you know, don't beat yourself up for it. It's honestly, it has nothing to do with your like skills. You just you know, sometimes it worked, like some people can put it together and it all works all right. And you know, you can really easily miss small details, or some things can happen to you while you're coding it that didn't happen to other people. So yeah, you don't beat yourself up for if you didn't get it to work. You know, just maybe come back at another time with some fresh eyes, or maybe ask your peers or for help and like referring to their code and how they went about it. But yeah, nonetheless, good job on putting in the effort. And so yeah, here's just like a little wrap up. once you're able to get this working, the possibilities within Makecodearcade, there's a lot you can do. We created a very, it's got quite a few features. But you could definitely add more. You can add animations, you could even add enemies, and you could make more levels. And the list goes on. There's games contain a lot of different things that you can do, and Makecodearcade is a platform that can support a lot of different things. It is limited to being a 2D or a flat surface, but there's still a lot of cool different logic you can build into your game. But if you want to level up from that, or you want to just explore some different platforms, Pico 8 is it's kind of an interesting platform. It's also kind of like you have interesting sprites, and it's kind of similar, but instead of working with blocks, you're actually writing the code yourself, and you have a terminal and an editor. It's a little bit more like what you would do if you would write the code yourself, or it is pretty much that way. If you wanted to level up even beyond that and work with game software, you could always download Unity or different platforms like that. But if a nice one that's online is Play Canvas. It's like an online game engine. It's pretty cool. You could look into that. And then also, if you wanted to build build a game from scratch, more like using very core libraries and really writing the code yourself, there's a really popular library called Raylib, and it's has a lot of different resources for being able to draw things to the screen, and basically resources that allow you to create a game. So those are some good references. That's pretty much the wrap up. Good job with getting this far and completing the 2 parts of creating this game. And thank you. Of course, thank you for taking the time and listening to me through. And I hope you had a lot of fun.